Hello, I'm Brandon Abbott, your host for this month's edition of Life Out Loud. Today, I'm at the Criminal Courts Building in Graham to speak with Judge Brad Allen about the juvenile justice system. Let's go inside now and see what Judge Allen has to say. Judge Allen, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here today.
First off, can you tell us what led you to become a judge?
I grew up in Alamance County, and I've always tried to make Alamance County a great place to live because I have family here, I have children here, my family grew up here, and as a judge it gives me an opportunity to make decisions and rule on cases that help people and help the community be a safe place, and also help to straighten people's lives out so that they can be productive citizens and productive adults.
What about your experience as it pertains to the juvenile justice system?
When I was an assistant DA, which I was for about 10.5 years, there was a time when I first became an assistant DA that I was in juvenile court every week when we had juvenile court, and I did that for approximately 4 or 5 years. And since becoming a judge, which I have been a judge now for almost over 15 years now, I have been certified as a juvenile court judge, which we had to go to a 3-week class, and we had to hear so many juvenile cases in a certain time period to be certified. And now we rotate every 4 weeks with the other judges, and every 4 weeks I hear juvenile cases in juvenile court.
What are the differences between juvenile court and adult court?
Well, there's a lot of difference between juvenile court and adult court. If someone commits a crime prior to turning 16, then they're in the jurisdiction of juvenile court. If they commit a crime after the age of 16, they are in the jurisdiction of adult court. That's the main difference. Also, what the court can do in juvenile court versus adult court. In juvenile court, the court has the authority over parents, and the court can force parents to go to counseling to assist the juvenile by paying restitution. In adult court, there are some alternatives, but someone can be sent to jail or prison a lot quicker in adult court versus juvenile court. And the focus in juvenile court is really to try to rehabilitate not only the juvenile but also correct any problems that the family may have that has caused the juvenile to end up in juvenile court.
What types of cases do you see in juvenile court?
We see all types of cases. The majority of the cases that we have in juvenile court are misdemeanors. We do see some felonies, but the majority are misdemeanor larceny, such as larceny of cell phones or larceny of things at some of the convenience stores or Walmart or Kmart or things, stores like that. We also have quite a few simple assaults where children get in fights at school, or disorderly conduct, or damaging property. We also have, unfortunately, we have some juveniles that are involved in the use or possessing illegal drugs. And we also have quite a few cases where juveniles are charged with carrying a weapon to school or having it on school property, such as pocket knives, BB guns, and we do have some serious offenses too, where juveniles commit rapes, robberies, felony breaking and entering, and crimes such as that.
Do you see a lot of repeat offenders in juvenile court?
Currently, there's approximately 81 juveniles on juvenile probation, and that could be, some of them are in training school, which is called Youth Development Center. Some of them are in group homes for counseling, different levels of counseling, and the others are in just on regular juvenile probation. I would say approximately 25 to 30% are what we would call repeat offenders. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are committing new crimes, but some of them are being cited back for violation of probation because of not completing community service, not cooperating with counseling, being suspended from school because of misbehavior. So that's what I would consider as, quote, repeat offenders.
What about sentencing? Can you give us some examples?
Well, there's a variety of sentencing that the court can do. Juveniles can be sent to detention, which is a locked facility, and if they commit a serious enough offense or they commit a series of minor offenses, they can be sent to training school. And if a juvenile is sent to training school, that is a minimum of 6 months, and then they have a point system that they have to do in order to get out of training school. But that could be up to your 18th, 19th, or 21st birthday, depending on the type of crime and the seriousness of the crime. But the majority of the sentences, juveniles would be placed on juvenile probation for either 6 months or 12 months. They can be required to go and receive counseling through a counselor. They can be drug tested. They can be ordered not to have any contact with a victim. They can be required to complete community service. They can be required to follow the rules at school and make passing grades at school. They also can be required to go to a program called the Rise 2 program, which is if they do get suspended for a short term out of school, then there's a program. Instead of them going and sitting at home and watching TV, they have to go to this program where they have to complete their schoolwork, and then that schoolwork is sent back with them when they go back to school. Those are some of the standard kind of provisions that we require in most juvenile cases.
What are some alternatives to juvenile court?
A big one is teen court. When a case is taken to the juvenile court counselor's office, they can what's called divert the case, and they'll send it to teen court, where you have a teenager as a prosecutor, a teen as a defense attorney, and a teen sometimes as a judge, or other people, lawyers or judges are the judge, and you have a jury. And basically the teenagers are judging their peers, and then they, if they're found to be delinquent or guilty as it's called in adult court, then they sentence them and order them to do community service or write apology letters and things of that sort. Sometimes the juvenile court counselors will divert a case where they will just kind of put them on a period of good behavior, and they may have to do community service, or they may have to go to some mental health counseling, counseling about anger management, or drug counseling. Those are some alternatives.
What suggestions would you give to teenagers to help them stay out of trouble?
All teenagers know what's right and wrong, and you have to make choices. You have to take responsibility for your own actions. If you make a mistake, then you have to own up to your mistake, and you have to correct it. It's just like if you don't study, then it's going to be difficult for you to make a good grade in a school project or school exam. But everyone knows the laws, the majority of the laws. They know what's right and what's wrong, and you need to associate with people who are doing right and not associate with people who are doing wrong. If you hang out with people that are using drugs or using alcohol, then they're going to get you in trouble. If you're hanging out with people that are tearing up people's property or breaking in places or stealing, then you're going to probably get in trouble with them. So you need to model yourself after people who have good morals, good values, and that may be your parents, that may be a grandparent, a teacher, that may be a neighbor down the street, it could be a Sunday school teacher or a pastor. And if you hang around and kind of imitate the people that are doing what's right and not imitate or hang around with the people doing things wrong, then that's going to cause you to be more successful, or the likelihood of being more successful.
And finally, what about the parents? what can they do to help keep their child on the straight and narrow?
Well, the parents really need to be good role models. Studies that I've been to numerous classes, and to the parents, they need to understand that if they tell their children, I don't want you drinking, I don't want you using drugs, I don't want you driving after drinking, I don't want you having sex with someone, then the parents need to understand the juveniles will listen. Sometimes they might not always follow the rules, but they do listen, and the majority of them do. But the parents need to be good role models. And I'm going to tell you, like I've told a story before, that I heard a gentleman say one time that when he was 19 or 20, his parents knew exactly where he was and who he was hanging out with 24 hours a day. Not only that, he knew where his parents were and who they were hanging out with 24 hours a day. They may not be around each other, but they knew what was going on. And if parents are involved in their children's lives and know what they're doing and who they're hanging around with and correct if there are problems, then that will help their child to be more successful and stay out of trouble.
Great answer. Thanks again for taking the time to speak with us, Judge Allen.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here, and I hope that some of the questions and answers that we talked about will be helpful.
Well, gang, that wraps up another installment of Life Out Loud. Hope you found it informative. Until next time.